Today, I'm going to be talking about how I took this box at $500 and turned it into everything you see here behind me. We're going to be going over scaling a Pokemon business and how you can take your binder of cards into a full-fledged operation and how I am going to approach this in the future. I've been selling Pokemon cards for a long time and I've learned a lot of things about automation, scaling, social media, and all this Pokemon business stuff. So where do we actually begin with all of this stuff? What's the first step to scaling a Pokemon business? I'm going to say it's business operations, focusing on solutions, building processes, and building rules for yourself that you can use to apply when you are buying collections, working with customers, working with clients, or anything like that. It's important to set rule sets and guardrails for yourself when you're dealing with the Pokemon business, because you can start to make split-second decisions on what is acceptable for you to purchase, what is not acceptable for you to purchase, and everything in between. Additionally, when you're starting out with a Pokemon business, I think it's highly important to start with a broad range of things. You should try selling bulk, you should try selling higher end cards, you should try selling graded cards, and everything in between if you can. And then once you kind of get your foot holding onto what is what, then I want you to niche down into something very specific and become very, very good at it. This is what I did with the bulk business. When I first started selling on Amazon, I was doing all sorts of different things. I was flipping ultra rares, I was flipping graded cards, and I was flipping bulk lots, and I discovered that selling lots on Amazon was going to be the best route for me to double down on and get really good at. Now my processes have since changed, and now TCG Player Direct is my scale of focus, but at the time I was all in on one platform and I was making sure that I was trying to understand processes and making things optimal. What I would do for this is I would create bulk buy lists. I would go and work with clients and customers to make sure I had reoccurring sources of bulk, and I knew what my profit margins were by documenting all of the processes and basically having a start to end finish, received inventory to ship inventory and sell in between. By fully understanding the business that you're running and building operations, it's going to allow you to start looking at the mechanisms you can put in place to start taking it to the next level. Now, number 2 is going to be social media. This is something that people have actually asked me a bit in the comments, and I think it's incredibly important, and it's probably one of the main reasons why I even got here in the first place. When I first started this YouTube channel, the original idea was to document the process and to make sure that I was just sharing the knowledge that I had about the Pokemon business. That is absolutely still the case, but having a YouTube channel has brought me tremendous opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise without it. What do I mean by this? Well, about once a week now, I am getting a bulk submission through my website, thelabtcg.com, where you can submit your bulk to sell to me and I would gladly buy it. But as an example, with a social media presence, I almost no longer need to go and scout collections for myself. When you're starting a Pokemon business and you don't have a following or you don't have any social media presence, it's very common to go onto Facebook Marketplace or to eBay and try and find lots and things that are profitable to resell. Now, I know that this works for many people, including myself, by creating different followings, whether that's on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or TikTok. People that build businesses and incorporate social media almost have a scale to them that can really start to grow. This is something that we've seen with this channel, and there is other perks that come with it too. Not only do you have access to purchasing collections, but as things start to ramp up, if you do cross a threshold, you will get ad revenue that can be reinvested into the business, and it's almost creating a flywheel effect where you are getting customers that are coming in and watching the videos. A certain percentage of them become clients of yours, whether they are buying collections or they are interacting with you in other ways. And then all of a sudden, this almost cycle of you have a customer, you teach them something, then ad revenue comes in, and it kind of just continues to grow. Now, by taking all of that money that you are getting from the ad revenue or from these client relationships and reinvesting it back into the business, you've now added a second source of income to the business that isn't just selling Pokemon cards. And it's highly important that this is something you can really leverage. Now, if you're a little bit shy and you don't want to be in front of the camera or posting on these different social media sites, there are plenty of ways to try and make an impact in this space. There are talking head videos and video essays that you could do that don't, or sorry, not talking head, but more like essay style content or documentary style content that doesn't involve your face at all. On top of this, all of these social media sites, you can post pictures on Instagram and garner a following and offer to buy people's bulk there. So the main thing here is once you kind of develop a following, I would start to build a website and make sure that you have some sort of way for people to be able to sell you cards or get in contact with you, because there's almost a trust that gets built up in order to run these sites, and then people are more likely to choose their favorite social media person instead of some random guy on Facebook. that's just my personal experience, and I would highly recommend you check it out. Social media is absolutely a journey. It does not happen overnight, and it really can 10x the business. Now, the next thing is going to be creating repeat customers and clients. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with the social media thing, because the idea is once you actually get a few clients through this social media thing, you have your business operations, you have cut and dry guardrails, you know, I'm paying this for this card and this for this card, and you start to actually get people that want to sell you cards. You need to take the time and effort to make sure that those are long-lasting impressions and that those customers keep coming back. When you are creating this relationship with customers, you want to ensure that you are over-delivering and under-promising, which basically means maybe you have a lightly played card, or sorry, a near mint card that, you know, you give them to it at lightly played, or maybe there's like a little discrepancy on the card and you're making sure you're taking the extra mile to go out of your way and say, hey, I noticed this card has this flaw. I wanted to really draw your attention to it. Or if you're starting on some of these platforms like TCG Player and eBay, one of the best things you can do to get positive feedback and boost your ratings as a seller is to write handwritten notes for your first several couple orders to really make it known to the customer that you're trying to do the best job. Here on the Lab TCG, I cover a ton of topics about running a Pokemon business, and it has always been my priority to make sure that the sellers I'm educating become better sellers as a whole. I've had so many terrible experiences as a buyer on TCG Player and eBay buying cards that I want to make sure that the sellers walking away from my channel are basically the new wave of sellers and able to help make the buying process better. So with that, make sure that you're taking care of your customers, because why is this important? When you actually go the extra mile and take care of people and do real good business, those become repeat customers. It's a lot cheaper to have a repeat customer or a repeat client than to go and spend a bunch of time trying to find a new one. So when you attract a customer through social media, then they buy with you once or they sell with you once, guess who they're gonna go to the next time something comes around? They're gonna remember the feeling that you had them get, and that they liked the relationship that they have built with you, and boom, now you have another customer. So this is something that I've done. I've had clients that I've worked with 5+ times before, several collection purchases. Even in between moving across the country to Seattle, I've come back to Maryland and still have people that I worked with pre-move. So building relationships and getting engaged in the Pokemon community is super important. Additionally, getting involved in your local community is also super impactful. If people know that you're a presence in the local area, odds are there might not be another person in your local area, and you can become the point person to go to for Pokemon, and it scales to any other card game as well. So if you go a little bit of the extra mile and you start taking in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic and all these other card games, then you're also just the card game person, and you can really take advantage of that. But again, please make sure that you are taking care of the clients and customers you get into business with. It's really, really important. Now, this is the step that I am at, and that is going to be automation. Now, this video is about scaling a Pokemon business, and as you can see through all the YouTube videos that are on my channel, the background, the landscape, the selling, the talking, all that stuff has significantly changed. But there is still an element in my head that I can continue to do more. And another thing is I have a few conflicting priorities that don't make this my main priority, which leads me to think of how can I actually remove myself from the business to focus on more important aspects of the business, whether that's creating content, or maybe that is creating deal opportunities, sourcing more clients. The thing that I found is sorting cards is one of the worst ways that I can spend my time in the business, and I want to scale it to a point where I no longer have to do that. So in terms of automation, we're in a really interesting time where artificial intelligence is kind of booming, it's everywhere, and I haven't used it a ton for this YouTube channel, but I would highly recommend looking into not only ChatGPT, Excel macros, and robotic sorters for your business. For example, if you use ChatGPT to ask a question about trading card games and TCG Player, you can almost write Excel macros without even knowing how to do that. Or if you've tuned into some of the live streams that I do on Saturdays, you can watch me mess around in Excel and create different formulas, and we can then take those and turn them into macros that automatically run when we want them to, cutting down on the amount of time that we're spending on meaningless tasks or just small little activities. So with a kind of combination of these things, there are different barriers to entries. ChatGPT is free, Excel macros takes a little bit of expertise, and robotic sorters can range anywhere from $3,000 on the low end all the way up to $25,000. And in the future, I will be uploading a video about the Magic sorter, card sorter that I ordered, and I'll tell you guys all about it. But so far, it's been pretty good, and it's kind of removed me from having to alphabetically sort or set sort cards. I still have to do a little bit of the listing process, but it's been a huge help in allowing me to process the absolutely massive backlog that I have. So now with this automation element to the business, there are different aspects that I want to continue to scale in the future. So more on that in future videos. And the last step that I want want to kind of go into for scaling a Pokemon business. And this can be applied to any step of the business that you are at. And that is a book title called What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. And I have not read this book personally, but I have heard this saying many times, and now I do want to read the book. But the point is, you need to continuously learn to continue to develop yourself. What got me to this position right now as a Pokemon YouTuber with a business is not going to get me to where I want to be in the future. And similarly, if I had just continued buying ultra rares for 50 cents on TCG Player and then selling them to bulk buyers for $1 when I first started this business, I probably wouldn't have gotten to the place that I have now. So in this kind of process, think about where you've gotten and always be able to reflect and look at the achievements that you've made and then think, how do I get to the next step? Because by continuously reflecting and learning from your mistakes, learning from the trial and error, you're going to be able to continue to scale the business and use the knowledge that you have to continuously compound it and then identify opportunities that you didn't see in the first place. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a different one, but I think it's important for some of the stuff that we've started to discuss on this channel. Scaling a business is highly important and impactful. And if you want to know more about all the business procedures and how to actually ship Pokemon cards, you're going to want to check out this video.